Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us for another YouTube live interview with RKL23. My name is Sophia Pascuzzo. I'm the Customer Marketing Associate with RKL eSolutions. Before we get started, a few housekeeping rules. So we would love for you to participate and ask questions throughout the chat. For anybody on desktop, that chat's going to be to the right of the video. If you're on mobile, the chat's going to be underneath. So if you cannot see that chat or it isn't visible, make sure you're signed into YouTube to be able to chat. And while you navigate to that chat, feel free to put in where you're joining us from. So I'm in northeastern Pennsylvania. It's sunny here today, but it's a little windy and cold outside. What about you, Caitlin?
It's actually beautiful weather here. Finally, we're having real spring weather in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, so I'm enjoying it.
Great, awesome. So today we have Caitlin Sutjak, VAR ERP Channel Sales Manager at ADP. Caitlin has been with ADP for just shy of 10 years and is one of only 7 Sage Intacct ADP sales reps in the country. She lives just a few minutes away from our main location in Lancaster, PA, and her role at ADP as our dedicated sales rep is to work closely with our clients to help them close the gaps and reduce any inefficiency within the employee lifecycle. She also is extremely knowledgeable when it comes to understanding the Sage Intacct integration with ADP and the automation it provides. Caitlin's latest project with ADP has been a large focus on Sage Intacct payroll powered by ADP. So with that, I'm going to get into the questions. So Caitlin, what's the difference between ADP and other payroll HCM providers?
It's a good question to start off with. I would have to say it comes down to really 3 main differentiators. The first being our integration capabilities, the second being data, and the third being our scalability. So for the integration, we've built the middleware with Sage Intacct that has the automation that clients are looking for, but also the security behind it, which I know we'll cover a little bit later. But just like Sage Intacct, we also have over 600 different ADP marketplace partners for integration as well. The end of the story here is that ADP plays nice in the sandbox. And what I mean by that is that we don't force clients to use ADP for everything and anything. But the goal is still to automate their process, and we have various ways to do that. Data is probably one of my favorites to talk about. ADP actually just reached over 1 million clients globally, and we have 3 times more data than our next largest competitor. And so if you think about the amount of data that we're able to share back with our clients, they can make more informed decisions about, proper pay rates for a supervisor in Maryland versus California, when creating an open position per se, or maybe predicting turnover probability within their organization. The data is real time, so you don't have to wonder if it's from last year or last quarter. And then the last is scalability of services, whether it's just needing support with the payroll tax liability and some assistance with onboarding employees, we have you covered. You can add in additional modules for applicant tracking and recruitment or timekeeping. And then from there, even outsource, HR services, or maybe your entire HR department, all the way up to our PEO platform, which is the largest in the country. And so having that scalability as businesses' needs change, I think has been really important.
Yeah, definitely. And what trends are you seeing in the payroll/HCM landscape?
I would say businesses are wanting to consolidate vendors and streamline their process big time. I think the pandemic ultimately taught businesses, wow, it's really hard to do this when we're not physically in an office and look at all the different systems and softwares we're using. Most companies use anywhere from 7 to 10 different vendors just for the payroll and HR lifecycle alone. So when looking to an ADP, we're typically able to bring that down to 2 to 3 and eliminate friction, as I like to call it. But ultimately, employees feel more empowered to have access to day-to-day apps. Administrators aren't overwhelmed by tactical questions and having to triple key information. And ultimately, this frees up time back in everyone's day to do more of what they signed up for and enjoy showing up to work, which ultimately, keeps the business more profitable.
And what integration capabilities does ADP have with Sage Intacct?
So specifically with Sage Intacct, like I mentioned, we built the middleware for Sage Intacct. So aside from the efficiency is the security behind it. Since it's our middleware, we have the ability to protect the client's data. It includes a few different components. There's a general ledger interface, an employee data sync. There's an inbound time sync, outbound time, dimensions, and an expense reimbursement. And I can give kind of just a peek under the hood for what all of those are. Our most common is our general ledger interface. So this is a push of GL data to Sage Intacct. The GL data is easily and accurately synced to Intacct, including standard and user-defined dimensions. So after that payroll is processed, it's sent over to Intacct. And then we've also got the employee data sync. So, Sage Intacct is listening for that change of employee data. So when someone makes a new hire in ADP system, or maybe even just a title change, that data is sent over to Sage Intacct, which eliminates some dual entry. Expense reimbursement is a full 360 integration where expense reports are able to be pulled into ADP from Sage Intacct's time and expense module, where then the company can review, balance, and approve the expense reimbursement directly in ADP, but then it also gets recorded back to Sage Intacct, marking it as paid, creating that full 360 environment. We have our dimension sync, which is the pull of dimension values from the Sage Intacct portion into ADP's timekeeping system with the labor charge fields. So when a client maybe adds a new job or a new location or a new task in Intacct, our middleware is listening for that change and pulling that information overnightly or upon client initiation more frequently, so employees can begin to clock in and clock out from that job. Outbound time is pretty self-explanatory. It's the push of timesheet data out of ADP's timekeeping into Sage's time and expense timesheets. And then the last is inbound time sync. So this is where we can pull hours worked from Sage Intacct time and expense into ADP's system that then flows through payroll and then flows back to the GL. So a lot of different ways. Every client is different, but there's a lot of options when it comes to the integration with Intacct that we've built.
Great. Yep.
Yeah.
Very flexible too, it seems.
Yeah.
And like you said, going towards the needs of the business. So that's great.
Everyone's different.
Yep. Okay. And how is SIPR, by ADP different than just ADP?
Yeah, so we're now abbreviating it, as SIPR, Sage Intacct Payroll, powered by ADP. It's an interesting acronym, but eSolutions has a unique offering for Intacct clients that aren't using ADP today, called Sage Intacct Payroll. It's one fully integrated solution, so not just the Intacct side, but the payroll and the HR systems as well. So going back to the conversation earlier about scalability, some businesses may just want payroll and maybe simple timekeeping to start, plus that integration we talked about, like maybe just the general ledger interface to start, just to keep it simple. But then over time, you can add additional modules, an applicant tracking and recruitment system to Sage Intacct Payroll through us, or benefits administration to help with open enrollment, the HRIS functionality, if you will, as the company's needs change. And all of this is being implemented with a dedicated team that has knowledge on the Intacct side. It's billed monthly, and it also includes ongoing support within an account manager for questions or issues that may arise. It's taking off like wildfire, and the biggest reason that clients are buying today is because of the integration we have versus our competitors, and that scalability too. So as their needs change.
Great. And how has ADP evolved to better support clients?
Yeah, so times are changing, right? We've developed more self-service options within the technology for clients, like chat features or smart suggestions when someone's stuck, how-to videos, But we also have options for clients to work with maybe a dedicated support contact. We even have the ability for clients to outsource the payroll functionality completely, even down to something newer called optimization services, which is where, we'll meet with a client, review the ADP platform they're on, run an analysis to see, are they using the technology to the best of its ability? If they've been a client for 10 years, have they changed, their setup? And ultimately make recommendations, like should they downgrade certain things? Do they need to upgrade? Or maybe they just need more support for certain events, like support during open enrollment. So one time a year, we can provide them additional support just for open enrollment. But bottom line is we've really tried to create various options when servicing for clients, depending on the way they want to be serviced, what their needs are, and ultimately the challenges, that they face.
Awesome. And why should a business evaluate their payroll slash HCM process with you?
Well, I would say, especially if clients are already using Intact today or are thinking of going to Intact specifically, they really should be looking at ADP or Sage Intacct Payroll by ADP. One of the main benefits that Intact offers is for a company to be more efficient and have more automation. So why not apply that same concept to your employee lifecycle? Where I know a lot of my payroll and HR leaders and controllers out there would agree, there's always room for improvement and some updating to make their lives easier. But that's ultimately what ADP and Sage Intacct Payroll powered by ADP can provide, all while syncing back to Intact. So, less manual work, less human error, and ultimately less, administrative burnout as well.
Definitely. Yep. And so if I'm looking to implement ADP, what can I do now in order to prepare?
I would say, first off, make sure that you're talking to me and only me at ADP. But truly, as RKL, and these solutions dedicated ADP rep, understanding the Intact conversation, just a brief intro call to see if it's worth going through a full evaluation is what I'm here for. Implementation can be anywhere from 10 to 16 weeks, depending on complexities and needs and modules purchased. So leaving enough time to meet, see a demo, go through pricing, make a decision, and then implement without having a rush, I think is important. I would say 9 times out of 10 that I meet with a company, they're like, wow, I had no idea, that you guys could do all of this, all while integrating back to Intact. So the saying, you don't know what you don't know, it doesn't hurt to have a quick call to see if it's a good fit. And if not now, maybe down the road.
Definitely. Yep. Go to Caitlin for all your ADP needs.
That's right.
Great.
Me only.
Yep. Awesome. Well, that's all the questions we have today. Thank you, Caitlin, for all that important information and updates with ADP. Yep. For those of you watching, if you did not already register to receive reminders for this event, the form is in the chat right now. You can fill out that form to receive a little gift on us for attending today's live. And you'll also be entered at for a swag giveaway that will be it'll be drawn on excuse me, the swag will be announced at the end of June. That's what I'm trying to say. So again, thank you for joining us today. Make sure you check out our other events like the Summer of Automation series on our events page, and be on the lookout for RKL23's next top story in June. And with that, I'm going to close out with a short commercial break brought to you by ADP.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks.
There's a theory with HR that it's just very transaction focused, but we want to be more strategic, more value add for our managers, for our employees. We're a bank, so I need the employees to do what they need to do, not worry about clocking in or out or their performance review or picking up a 401k plan. The last thing I wanted to do was have like 10 different systems and none of them be able to work together. We grew with ADP because in the beginning it was just payroll, and then the recruitment module, then the benefits module, then onboarding. Upgrades are seamless. The fact that they're fully integrated is, again, win-win for us because we're able to do much more now than we were able to do before, and it frees us up. We're much more proactive now than reactive. One of the benefits of working with ADP is that they actually listen. It's almost like being a good partner. I get the chance to give input. They help us to use technology to improve ourselves that make us more effective and efficient with what we need to do in the human resource space. I love the direction that ADP is going in because I see that momentum. We've been growing with them. It's made our employees better at using the technology, and we're a better organization.